I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
I know.
You will be.
Hello there.
Hello there.
We are Dad and Rock, and tonight we are talking about ObiWan Kenobi. Kind of the season as a whole. We saw the finale. We covered the first 4 episodes a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And since then, we've had episode 5 and episode 6. I mean, episode 6 is really kind of the one to talk about. This finale
it's
was
all
crazy.
about episode 6.
Yeah. But yeah, join us here. Tonight we'll be covering this. We're also covering the boys. We'll be talking about them next week. And I don't know. Overall, what do you think about what we've seen?
Overall, I was lukewarm on the show. I mean, I think I liked it a lot more than you did. After we stopped and this episode was over, I realized it was not the show that the namesake of the show was. And I think it's the biggest problem most people have. I think this was a Leia show. And then it was inevitable that Vader and Obi-Wan would meet. I think this was basically showing how she becomes the Leia that we know, the strength in Leia that we know, all these characteristics that she learned at a young age, at the age of 10.
Yeah.
And then basically, it also explains the when R2 is reaching out to Ben in episode 4. So it kind of tied that together. They never reached out to each other since that point because they were being careful. So when she said, "You're our last hope," it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I get that. There was a lot of Leia. I thought it was, we'll get to the finale part. I guess just overall thoughts on the whole series. There was a lot of Leia. I mean, it was kind of a bait and switch, right? Because in the trailer we had Luke, so we figured maybe Luke was going to be somehow
we
involved.
Got no Luke.
We got barely any Luke. We got a little bit this finale, but that's about it. Which is okay, honestly. Like the less Luke is probably the better as far as keeping the canon straight.
Yeah.
I think the big sticking point for this entire series is the story / Reva's character arc. That's probably the thing that's gotten the most bit of attention, maybe negative attention. This finale, though, what's weird for me, and we'll just kind of start with things that we didn't necessarily like about the show. What's weird for me is that everything that I wanted to see in an ObiWan Kenobi show that takes place during this time, it happened in this final episode. Which if I'm ever like rewatching and revisiting something, like if I watch the prequels, I'll definitely want to like watch this last episode in between watching the prequels and the original trilogy, because I think it gives great context. And Vader, they just did immaculately through this whole thing.
The whole series,
the whole series and the finale too, because this is the first time I've really felt, because they've always felt so separate. Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker and James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, just two very separate. Yeah, I know Anakin's in there, but it's like they're very separate, very different. This is the first time I've felt Anakin in that suit.
Yes.
And it was like we get to see it, we get to hear it, we get to experience it right with Obi-Wan. But honestly, I'll probably won't ever watch like the first 5 episodes again. I'm only going to cut to the chase with episode 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there too. I mean, it's hard telling. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but there was so much other stuff that went along with it that I didn't think was truly necessary.
Yeah.
But like I said before, I mean, before you got going, I enjoyed all the stuff with Leia. Knowing as much stuff as I do know about Leia, because just reading as much as I've done, I like getting a little bit of that backstory. I would love to see just a young Leia spinoff. Just her mom, and Bail on Alderaan. I'd like to see some of that stuff that I know through the actual through the books. See her go through some of this. So if I look back and I sat back and I took an actual just a look at the show, on what the show was. Yes, there was absolutely a bait and switch in this show, because this was, like I said before, I feel like this was more of a Leia show than an Obi-Wan show. The fact that Obi-Wan was, saving her, trying to get her home, and then Vader basically latched onto that, and then they had their battle at the end of this, which was fantastic, to say the least. But
Yeah,
the right,
we didn't get a lot of. I mean, Obi-Wan was definitely the star of the show. He was in every episode,
yeah,
but as far as like real good character, like solid character stuff, we didn't really get that until and, you know, there was a bit with his first every confrontation with Vader, there was good juicy Obi-Wan stuff. But like Obi-Wan is a man of action, like, you know, he was just kind of serving the plot, and he, you know, just kind of being grumpy and sullen, and you know, which you had your own comments about
yeah.
those first couple episodes. And I don't know, this series was way more about plot than it was about maybe learning more about Obi-Wan. You know,
Yeah,
we
this
kind of
added no context to Obi-Wan at all. This
no, we didn't
basically
learn anything new
yeah,
here.
nothing. We learned nothing new in this. This was essentially a comic,
Right.
just giving us some context of a period of time that took place. That's
Yeah.
if you look at it that way, I don't think many people have had that big of much of an issue with it. But seeing that it
Right.
wasn't actually a Disney Plus six episodes still seems weird. It seems short. Season.
Mhm.
And definitely know we're having another season. I feel like 6 episodes was quite short.
Which that's a whole other discussion. I feel like they nailed it so well with this final episode here. Anything else is not like anything else. It's going to feel weird to have Vader involved in it. It's going to feel weird to have anybody outside of Tatooine involved in it. Like this feels, and this was created first as a movie, and then they kind of split it up over 6 episodes. But I mean, this is a singular story. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
all here. It's Obi-Wan feeling the desperation of being, you know, 10 years past Order 66. It's Obi-Wan learning who Vader is and confronting Vader. And it's Obi-Wan, you know, meeting up with Qui-Gon finally, that little promise that we had at the end of Revenge of the Sith from Yoda. It's like all that cool stuff. And we had, you know, like you mentioned, Leia in addition to that. That was like a
Yeah.
bonus.
That was
All that
something no
Leia
one's seen
stuff.
coming.
Right.
That was brand new to everybody because they didn't give any of that really in any of the trailers. So when we seen Leia for the first time in episode 1, we're like, oh,
Yeah.
it took everyone off guard.
I don't there's a big part of me that I feel like it's sacrilege, but there's a big part of me that does not want a sequel to this show.
No, see, before if you would ask me last week, I was looking forward to it. I was like, you know what? Another one. Because I was enjoying it enough. They'd be like, okay, give me another one.
Yeah.
But as fantastic as this finale was,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go but down.
Right.
There really isn't. I mean, I went back and I've rewatched that top 3. I mean, honestly, that may be the best lightsaber battle we've seen in live action. Now, some people hold that original Luke and Vader lightsaber battle, I think it was an Empire.
Yeah,
As like the top.
as far as drama.
Yeah, drama. It was speed wise
Right.
and everything. I mean, it had to hold everything you'd want. I mean, there was the first time we've seen a lightsaber battle like that. There
Yeah.
was the I'm your father, all of that.
All that stuff.
Your
Yeah.
your feelings are betraying you. Everything you can think of.
Right.
But then for me, I always think to Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul.
I mean, that's it, right? Duel of Fates.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Duel of Fates. That's always it. When I think of an awesome like live action, there's been some really good ones within the animated stuff. But I think live action, I think that one. Duel of
Or
Fates.
even Obi-Wan and Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, that duel is on Mustafar is crazy too. But I mean, I'm with you. As far as lightsaber duels, the Duel of the Fates and the Phantom Menace, who would have known that, when we were leaving the theater in 1999,
Yeah.
we would have just seen, I mean, we kind of knew it. We were like, holy crap, that was better than anything in the original trilogy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Battle
As
wise.
far as the lightsaber duel. Yeah.
Well, how about this? I mean, I think of lightsaber duels, Obi-Wan's in all of them. You have Duel of the Fates. You have him and General Grievous. You have him and Anakin. You have him and Vader now. It's like you don't even add that Yoda Dooku one in this list of lightsaber battle.
No. Yeah. He is. I mean, as far as Jedi go, and he's MVP when it comes to the Skywalker saga, that's for sure. Getting these lightsaber duels.
There was one other thing that kind of bugged me a little bit, but not so much. Basically, what killed Qui-Gon was a gut punch of a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 of those in this episode. and both characters survived.
Wait, there's Reva. Who was the other one?
The Grand Inquisitor.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, I think they heard something about 2 different stomachs or 2 different something. His organs are a little or something.
That whole thing is weird. That whole thing is too weird. It's strange. They should never have done it. I feel like they're being sneaky and they're introducing something that'll probably be resolved later outside of this show. But I don't like that. Like, if you're going to introduce it in this show, then explain it in this show.
Yeah.
Because it's weird to see people get stabbed through the gut with a lightsaber. Any other time, you would just assume, well, that character's done for. Especially when we've had such a pivotal death with Qui-Gon. And that's exactly what happened to him.
Yep. That's exactly how Maul killed him.
Lightsaber through center mass, and that's what we know as a death knell in a Star Wars film, right?
Yeah.
And really, I mean, they went back on it recently with Rey, I think, because Rey healed, Ben in the sequel trilogy. But like, I think that was something special with her. Like, not all the Jedi know Force healed tactics or whatever. They've already kind of messed this. Disney Star Wars has already kind of messed that up a little bit. But this was a big, I don't like that. I didn't like that when I saw it. My assumption is that the Grand Inquisitor maybe is a part of this cloning operation. Maybe he actually did die, and the Grand Inquisitor that we see in episode 5 is a clone of the other guy, and he doesn't know. You know what I mean?
That's
or maybe even Reva. I mean, Reva could be a clone of herself and not know it, because we're in the, like, Palpatine would not make himself the only test subject for this stuff. You know what I mean? He would want to perfect this technology
before he did something.
It's not like we've never dealt with cloning before. I mean, there's a whole title of episode 2 is Attack of the Clones. Like, cloning is a big thing in the Star Wars galaxy. So in my head canon, that's what makes that make sense. But still, like, until those things are answered, like, it was just so weird to have in this show.
But yeah, I mean, that was the one thing that really I was really kind of I held on to for some reason. But you know what, dude? Let's just go to the fantastic stuff. I mean, we already talked a little bit.
Yeah, this stuff is nitpicking. I mean, bottom line, you and I loved this finale. We liked the show and we loved the finale.
I watched it on Wednesday when it released.
Yeah.
I watched it that night again, just the lightsaber battle. I was skipping through the Reva stuff to get to the battle.
Right.
I watched it again today while I was at work. And then I watched more of it when I was doing our preparation for this show. So this episode, I've gone back to many times, or I have not watched the other ones a second time.
Yeah.
This one I've gone back to many times. And that, dude, the whole battle, when Obi-Wan strikes that pose and he's pointing, he's got his lightsaber above his head. You got that old school, like, here comes Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And then, freaking Darth Vader just kind of throws his lightsaber out and he's got it lit to the side of him, that classic, like, Sith type stance.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, man. And the lighting, the music, the environment, the whole thing was perfect. They couldn't have done this any better.
It's like they had a whole planet just dedicated for a lightsaber duel. It was like, no population. It was just, hey, this is just you and me, pal.
Man. And I loved how it wasn't just the battle.
Yeah.
What they did wrong with Yoda and Dooku, they perfected in this one. Because Yoda and Dooku were using the Force and lightsabers at the same time. And it just looked weird. And the way it was done was weird. And this one here, they were doing the exact same thing, but done so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, from like grabbing when Obi-Wan went for the mountain next to him, and Vader was impressed. He's like, "Oh, you got your strength back."
Right.
And then when Vader pulled that like crater move, I was like,
that looked like something straight out of like a fighting video game or something. Like, that's a power move. The whole, like, he was like beating the ground with the lightsaber to like crack it, and then he force pushed the ground and like opened up a crevasse into the ground that Obi-Wan fell into. That was badass.
Man, and when Obi-Wan fell in it, see, I kept on latching onto this too. He kept calling him master. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
There was a part of him that kept on calling him master, like he was still connected to Obi-Wan.
At first, I think I read that as him just being like flippant or like sarcastic, but you think maybe he's just used to calling him master, like that's what he's always called him, and
I
like
think so,
it's
yeah.
like a slip of the tongue.
No, I don't think so, because even when he is redeemed in Jedi,
Yeah,
it's like he's always kind of like had doubts. I don't think if he was true, I mean, he's complete badass. I mean, they give us full scary horror Vader in this show.
right.
But I think there's always a part of him that doubts. Because if he didn't have that doubt in him this period of time, he could have, I think, easily overthrown Palpatine.
Yeah,
There's that little sliver of like like Yoda and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon that is still there. That
yeah,
kind
and
of holds him back.
I think if in Empire Strikes Back, if he tempted Luke, join me and I'll complete your training. If Luke was like, yeah, all right, I'll join you. I think they definitely would have, because at that point he would have been full blown like he would have been able to marry the two ideas, like his past and his present and his future. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the idea that like, oh well, the son of Anakin and Padme can actually join me and like we can rule the galaxy together. Like, then he'll be full board. There won't be a sliver of that old school Anakin left.
There'll be nothing left. Yeah.
Yeah. He would make it his mission to take down the Emperor.
But man, when they were going back and forth and they were fighting and flipping around, when Obi-Wan got out, when he used the thoughts of Leia and was able to push away all of the rocks on the crater after Vader thought he crushed him. I love the thought when Vader was like, "You thought you can defeat me," and then turned around all cocky and walked away. And then he didn't even know he knew he was there without knowing he was there. He turned on, lit his lightsaber. Next thing you know, they're going at it again.
Yeah.
It was like, man, this is so good. And when Obi-Wan pulls his arms up and all those boulders are behind him.
Whoa, my eyes were like this big because we've never seen Obi-Wan. We've seen Yoda pull stuff like that. But we've seen stuff in like video games, but I've never would have like imagined Obi-Wan Kenobi, doing that kind of thing. So when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, like he's really hopped up on the Force.
Well, what they're doing as well, and if you're not reading the High Republic stuff, which I was into, I got out of them, I'm back into again. A lot of the Jedi have the ability to actually do things like this. So it's not things that we've really seen in the past. And I love seeing it, the visual of it. And when you start just shooting them at them and just pelting them. But there's something I was thinking about when these Jedi Knights are fighting. They're in turn trying to defeat or almost kill, a lot of times kill their opponent. Are they tapping into the dark side while they're doing so?
I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like, always for defense, never for attack. It's like, so, and then how can you justify that?
But
it's
Obi-Wan was attacking.
If I don't kill this person, by my actions, defeating, destroying, killing this person, I'm actually defending innocence. There's ways to wrap your head and justify anything. I mean, even our armed forces in real life, right? I mean, there's ways to justify things in your head to where you're keeping to a creed and decree, right? So I don't know. But like you're right. I've thought about that too. Like in the heat of the moment in the battle, we've seen it with Luke in Return of the Jedi. I mean, like Vader pisses Luke off, and Luke is just like lumberjack chopping, like, and he cuts off Vader's hand, and that's definitely the dark side because like. Emperor's like laughing. He's like, good, perfect. Things are going as as they should be.
Yeah.
And it's only when Luke centers himself, looks at what the heck he's doing, and tosses the lightsaber, that he returns to himself. So I think there's always a part of that, and maybe that's what separates the bigger Jedi, like a Master Yoda, from like not really needing that lightsaber anymore. You know what I mean? Like he brought it out in Attack of the Clone. Yeah, but I don't know. That's probably a Star Wars discussion for
that's a whole deeper discussion. Yeah, but but man, when there was a scene when Vader and Obi-Wan are fighting, and it's basically the very end when all of a sudden Obi-Wan lunges. They got an audible reaction out of me.
Yeah.
When he lunged at him and
Yeah, he
cut.
jumped off that boulder and it went slow-mo, and you saw the lightsaber just slice into the helmet. You see the helmet spark out, and it was just like you saw every bit of that. The way it was shot was really cool.
Yeah, well, between that and when Obi-Wan was pounding on his chest, breaking like his life support stuff,
Yeah,
like he was going for the kill.
right.
Like he was like, "I'm one of us aren't walking away from this," and he was.
That's a point too. Like this is the second time that Obi-Wan has had
he could
the ability to kill him.
twice.
Yeah, and he doesn't. Why do you think that is?
Well, the first time I think he thought he was dead. I mean, there's a legitimate reason to think that, okay, he was dead or he was going to fall into the lava and he would have been dead. Yeah. This time here, I don't know. Well, then they couldn't, honestly. But I think there's even though he said, no, let's watch this clip real quick and then we'll go ahead and discuss what we're talking here.
Okay.
I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Dude.
I got lost in that moment just watching that clip, man.
I can't. I love how he's like, you didn't kill him, I did. Basically saying before we even got to Mustafar, Anakin was dead. The minute Anakin bowed at Palpatine's feet, Anakin was gone. He was now Vader.
It was done. He was already too far gone, even at that point, before the lava, before he got burnt. Killing the younglings, choking out Padme. Like he was gone by that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, but I loved hearing that directly from Anakin / Vader.
Yeah.
Hearing it, seeing his face,
in Obi-Wan's eyes.
Oh God.
Was one of those things
before that clip, he's apologizing. He's like, Anakin, I'm sorry. You could feel the weight that Obi-Wan's carried this whole time. Like if I'd only done things differently, probably even before he realized that Anakin was still alive, he probably had the regrets of like, I could have saved him if I would have just gotten him out of that pit and put him in some Bacta, and I could have done something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like probably all these thoughts. And he just looks at him the way he is now, and he's like, Anakin, I'm sorry, I failed you. And you're probably thinking that Obi-Wan maybe has these thoughts that like maybe this guy is still redeemable. Maybe my old friend is in there somewhere. And that's when Vader says what he does and smiles. You can see a little bit of a smile.
Oh, that was diabolical.
Yeah.
Oh man. And it was funny because there's so many like emotional reactions to people watching this.
Right.
And I didn't have it was more chills for me. I mean, I know a lot of people that teared up during it.
I cried during that scene.
Yeah, I didn't. This episode didn't get me with that. This episode got me with something else we'll talk about. But we're on the Vader thing here,
right?
But when he turned around and when he said goodbye, Darth, I was like, wow. And it was like complete disrespect. He just turned his back on him and walked away. I'm like,
it was absolutely perfect. This whole scene was perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to match up the dialogue of the original trilogy. Because you know me, I'm an OT guy. Like I need to keep the faith with like the dialogue that Alec Guinness had behind me with, David Prowse in the costume back in the day in the 70s. Like, don't mess that up for me. Like there's not that much dialogue about the past, in the original trilogy, but I don't want him to do anything that's going to break that canon, right? So, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Like when I left you, you beat the hell out of me, which he does.
Yeah,
but it's not going to end like that this time, right?
Well, basically, Obi-Wan. Well, at the end of New Hope, they're 2-2.
Yeah,
I mean, when you think about it, they both won. Now Obi-Wan kind of went,
yeah, that doesn't count as a win.
Yeah,
that was a win for Obi-Wan.
Essentially, yeah. So I mean, 3-1.
But just like, and the other dialogue from Obi-Wan in Return of the Jedi, you know, he's more machine now than man, twisted and evil. Or from Vader himself, where he's like, you know, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. Like, that was all in this scene. Like that moment where Obi-Wan had tears in his eyes. That's when you know that Vader knows that Obi-Wan is feeling some sort of hope or remorse, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when like you mentioned, when Obi-Wan says, well, then my friend is truly dead, and walks away, that's when you know that Obi-Wan's feelings have changed. Now he knows that Anakin is dead, and he's more machine now than man. He's twisted. He's evil.
Do you think he left him thinking, just like he did in episode 3, that he was dead or he was dying because he destroyed his respirator, he destroyed his mask?
I don't think so. I think this second time around, I think maybe in Revenge of the Sith, he probably thought that he did the job and he was just going to leave Anakin to die. I don't think Obi-Wan has the guts, or like I don't think he can bring himself to actually make the kill shot. Like he has never been able to so far. Like deep down, I think deep down inside, subconsciously, like he still feels like Anakin's in there somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I think when he looks at him, he sees Qui-Gon as well. He sees Qui-Gon. He sees Anakin. So he's not just seeing Vader. He's seeing other ghosts of the past, which would prevent him from, you know, making that final, you know, death blow.
I think this time around in this fight, he turned around maybe thinking, I think he was just trying to escape at this point.
Well, I don't know, man. He hunted him down. He actually got off that transport to save those people, because he even said one of the two of us aren't walking away from this. But
yeah, he did say that.
But they both wound up walking away from it for obvious reasons. We know that was one of my biggest problems. I loved everything about this. But I think the biggest problem with this show was we knew the outcome. There was nothing that could surprise us with the outcome of the show.
You could say that for any prequel, though. I mean, we had 3 movies that we knew that Anakin was going to turn into Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of know the outline of some things, but it's all about execution. Like, how do they get it done? Where do they land? And how does that inform what we already know? Which this kind of thing was awesome, was perfect. Yeah,
they landed that. Unlike other shows, they landed this season finale better than I have seen in a long time.
Yes.
And like I said, I can't wait to see it again. But there was another scene. I mean, later at the end, because everyone's been like asking, when are we going to see, you know, Qui-Gon? When are we going to see Qui-Gon? Are we going to see Qui-Gon?
Yeah.
And it got later and later in the episode. I'm like, oh, we are not going to see Qui-Gon. And then, a little something happened.
Master Qui-Gon.
Well, took you long enough.
Beginning to think you'd never come.
I was always here, Obi-Wan. You just were not ready to see. Come on, you've got a ways to go.
That gave me chills. Like my from head to toe, that episode, as soon as he started talking and I seen him, I got chills immediately. Like I enjoyed the line that he said you had, you know, emotional response to with Vader. That's one that got me. And I think I think it's because of really where our true fandom started. Yours started in the originals, mine started in the prequels.
Right. But it's perfect because it's like, this is what this show did. It married the prequels and the original trilogy like seamlessly. Like it feels so good because that we can get a scene from Qui-Gon, who was essentially just a big part of episode 1, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And ever since then, he's a fan favorite. I mean, people love Liam Neeson in that role. They love just the fact that he was a rebel Jedi. You know what I mean? Like he went against the grain. He didn't like just fall in line, and he had his own views about the Force and how it works and what you should do about it. And like that's like he was like a punk rock Jedi. He was so cool, and we only got him that one episode.
Yeah.
So to see him back and to see him basically turned the grumpy mopey, you know, Obi-Wan that we got in the beginning of this show into the hopeful, spirit that Alec Guinness eventually turns into in the original trilogy was like, that was nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Okay, so we talked about those things. Let's talk about Leia. The relationship between Leia and Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
that warmed my heart. This
That was
episode
good.
here, that was when I always contributed this to me having kids now.
Yeah.
When Obi-Wan basically told her he was leaving when they're on the transport, and she knew what that meant, like Vader was going to come after him, and she didn't want him to leave, and it hurt her for him leaving. Like, you promised to take me home.
Yeah.
Those little lines were hitting me right in the heart.
Yeah.
And then with like listening to Lola was keeping all like the other passengers from being scared. And Obi-Wan's like, I may need Lola as well. And then he finds out he has Lola with him because she slipped in one. Just those things. And then when he actually goes back to Alderaan.
That goodbye scene.
Yeah, and the goodbye scene. And when he tells her, basically, he lied about not knowing her parents.
Yes,
she
that got me
says
too.
The best parts of Padme and the best parts of Anakin.
Yeah.
And she thanks him, but then she looks over at Bale and his wife, and like, they're my parents. Just those scenes, amongst all the great drama and battle that we got with Anakin and not Anakin, Vader and Obi-Wan, that Obi-Wan and Leia stuff was almost the meat for me.
It was fantastic. Like, what a nice surprise. Like, of course, we knew that we were going to get, Obi-Wan stuff and the stuff that you have to hit as far as him learning about the living force from Qui-Gon. You kind of assume maybe that's going to happen, watching over Luke. But the fact that we kind of got like a Princess Leia Organa origin story.
Yeah.
We're like, this show really informs the character that we see, Carrie Fisher play down the line. And, some people gripe about the fact, like, well, if they were there this close, then why was she so formal when she's addressing him? Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars, acting as though like she didn't really know him.
Well, it was a long period of time in between that last interaction and then when she reaches out through R2.
Yeah, and I think also Obi-Wan even says in this scene, we may see each other again, but we have to be very careful. I think maybe Leia does have fond feelings and is very excited to see General Kenobi again. But like, she doesn't want to give that away. Maybe she doesn't want to give that away in some transmission that anybody could see.
Yeah, true.
Like she's just like, she's always keeping it close to the vest unless, and we never got to see old Ben
interaction. Yeah.
And Leia meet up again. Who knows? Maybe if he would have survived and would have been in the Falcon, there would have been a big hug and talking about the past and whatever. We didn't get that chance because
could you imagine that? Kind of like the Rex and Ahsoka reunion.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the Leia and Obi-Wan reunion? Oh, that would have been a tearjerker. We wouldn't even known it was a tearjerker because at the time we wouldn't have had any context to go along with it.
No context, but like this says it all. Like when Obi-Wan was underground and had the rubble and the dirt and the power of thinking about Anakin and Padme's kids, he's like, that's why I have to survive. That's why I have to keep going, is because it's not about me anymore. It's about these two kids. They're the future. And I need to make sure that they have a future, right?
Yeah.
So like that's what Obi-Wan's mission is now, and it's so clear to him in that moment, and that's what musters the force for him to just like, I mean,
dude,
it just explodes out of that hole.
The more we talk about this battle, the more I want to go back and watch it again.
I know, it's so awesome, dude. But you're right. Everything with Leia, it was like, and I was surprised because a lot of times with shows like this, and when they cast a character that young, they can almost be annoying because to like kid actors, it's not their fault or anything, but sometimes they just like chew the scenery. But she was great.
Leia. She was, fantastic. The strength she showed, the way she carried herself. Yeah. You know what I did want to see though in the end when she put on like the boots, the gloves, the holster? I wanted the side buns. I didn't want the top knots. I wanted side buns.
I wanted that too. She was so well received from like everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if they just start fast tracking a young Leia series of some sort.
I want that. I personally want that. I want to see 10 through. I'm not sure how old she is in New Hope. I want to see
she's
that.
Luke's age, so like 19.
Yeah, so I mean, there's 9 years there. They have given some of it in novels, which they can kind of play with. So they show, and the only reason I would say that they may not do it, it's so political. Like
Yeah, it would have to be, right? I mean, you would
Yeah.
have to have Jimmy Smiths in it. You would have to probably have Mon Mothma in it. Like you would see the formation of the rebellion.
Yeah, the whole deal, it's all politically driven. So the books that she's in, the people that like them, like myself, like them for the depth of character that we're learning. The people that haven't liked them in the reviews, they're just saying it's way too political. I'm like, well, if you want to know the background of that character, she grew up to be a senator. She grew up as a princess. Her destiny was to serve in the Senate. So that's what she had to learn. She was actually in the Senate at an early age as like a assistant and things like that. So that's her whole background. Now, if it was Luke living on Tatooine, and all of a sudden he was in the Senate and it didn't fit, okay. But if this fits her storyline.
You know what a show like that would also do? It would flesh out Alderaan. Like it would give us as Star Wars viewers a sense of what Alderaan is, who are the players on Alderaan besides the Organas, right? You could meet you could have flesh out Captain Antilles as a bigger character. You could like have like moments with these characters and get to know them. So that way when we see that whole damn planet blow up in A New Hope,
we're gonna feel it more.
Us. Yeah. I think that would be cool. But you know, as much as I like, and I'm always like torn because I love this era of the Skywalker saga. Of course, like that's what we grew up with, right?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's like, how much juice can you squeeze from that? And like, at what point do we need to move on to a different era, like some High Republic stuff or stuff?
That's why I am really looking forward to the Acolyte. The Acolyte, I am looking forward to. I mean, the Acolyte is that for me. Like I'm like going through the stuff that I'm going through now. There is a Jedi that he tapped into the dark side, and he's aware that he tapped into the dark side. And he asked one of his best friends, who is a council member, and confided in him that it happened. And they're kind of working through it, and he's afraid it's going to happen again. Right. So I've got a sinking suspicion that the Acolyte is actually going to be him going dark, and it's going to be the rebirth of the actual like dark side users or Sith or whatever you want to call them. But I think it's going to be a birth right out of the book that we're going to see. And if that's the case, I'm going to be both heartbroken because I love the character, right? And I'm going to be pumped because it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, Acolyte's coming. Like it's already, you know, it's slated for production. They already have a logo for so that's coming. There's all kinds of rumors. Like there was a rumor this week about them making a show around Cal Kestis and bringing the actor that does the mocap.
Yeah, I kind of seen that too. Yeah,
for that. So it's like, look, I love it all. If it has. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm going to nitpick about like the stuff that doesn't make sense in the moment.
We're the best at that. Star Wars fans will tear apart our fandom in a heartbeat.
How it fits with canon or how it doesn't fit with canon. But at the end of the day, like this galaxy is so rich with great characters.
We need to get away from this time frame. As much as we love this time frame, I think every now and then giving us a nugget, something new in it is fine. Like if we got the, I think if we're going to get something with Alderaan and Leia, we're going to get it. We'll get it soon because they want to capture that with the girl that played Leia at the age she's at. But the Acolyte's like 100 years before the prequels. I would love to go thousands of years forward. Right. And honestly, I would like to see a world or a galaxy where both the Sith and the Jedi exist, like coexist. Like that balance, like we didn't see it happen, but that balance actually took place. Where it wasn't where one was bring balance to the light side. There was a yin and yang that happened where the dark side and the light side were acting as one. And then something fractured it. Somebody got power hungry on either side. And they decided that this can't exist anymore. And then another war took place. And it's more than two like dark side users. I would like to see something like that way in the future.
That would be very cool. Yeah, because this whole time in the Skywalker saga, and apologize, we're going way beyond the scope of ObiWan Kenobi here.
Yeah, this is dangerous for us. The two of us, we have way too much knowledge about. But let's put a quick wrap up on Obi-Wan here, so we can. Okay. We know there's a season 2. What do
Do
you
we?
think? Well, they went out there and they already announced it.
They haven't announced that. They didn't say we're doing it. I think they said, well, if it makes sense, then, if everybody wants to do it, then we'll certainly take a look at it. Basically, Kathleen Kennedy gave us the old "we'll see" kind of thing, which, if you're a parent, you know what the heck "we'll see" means.
Will Smith means no.
Usually means no. Because like you said, I mean, where do you go from here?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that we're going to see him on Tatooine. We'll see a lot more of Qui-Gon.
Mhm.
And I think possibly we may see Yoda in like some type of visions as well when he's learning, because they're both learning how to use the living force essentially at the same time.
Yeah.
So if they both learn how to go ahead and
like maybe they meet in some sort of like cosmic force
yes,
meeting room.
yeah, exactly. So they're both like they're meditating, but their like consciousness is kind of gone to another level, and they're sitting around like somewhere with Qui-Gon as they're
Yeah.
learning, or there's a crazy force ghost that shows up, and it's like, I don't know, Plow Co-Plow, I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Plo Koon.
Thank you, Plo Koon.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the pop they'll get from like
Yeah.
people like me to see him
Right.
in a show like that? So, but this show would have to all circulate around Luke and keeping that family safe. Even though he said he's going to watch from afar, he said,
Yeah.
no, Owen was right. He has to be a kid. He finally met him. Hello there. So, I mean,
I think you got to keep Vader out of it, though. I think you got to keep, as much as I love seeing Hayden as Vader and Hayden and Ewan work together, I feel like how they left that dynamic is perfect. You don't.
It's good. No, yeah, you're absolutely correct. No, they cannot bring Vader back in. And how they ended it when Vader was talking to Palpatine, which was a cool cameo too.
That was cool. We didn't even mention that. Yeah.
Basically, he said, Obi-Wan's dead to him. Obi-Wan, he's done with Obi-Wan, even though we know he's not done with Obi-Wan.
And we know that from A New Hope, because as soon as he feels his presence on the Death Star, he's like he's telling Tarkin, he's like, Obi-Wan is here and I must face him alone. Like he's right on the hunt again.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's all about it. So yeah, I do like the idea, because we've got Joel Edgerton playing Uncle Owen, and we got to see more of Beru this episode too.
Yeah, those two were fantastic. The little bit of screen time they got, they were fantastic.
They were. So I would love to see more of them. I would love to see, Luke being protected, but not necessarily learn anything about lightsabers or the Force yet, because that is yet to come. I think, Ben would keep that from, or not Ben. I think Owen would keep that from happening anyway.
Oh, yeah, right? He would too.
I think, between that, maybe, we have cameos from Jabba the Hutt. Maybe we have, because we have seen, in the sequel trilogy and even stuff in Rebels with like Ezra, they're able to force project themselves to like different places almost. So I would love to see another scene between Yoda, meditating on Dagobah, talking to Obi-Wan, meditating on Tatooine, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there probably is room for stuff like that, but not too much more.
But once again, it's like we're teetering in the territory of why.
Right.
Why do we need this?
Yeah.
And we really don't. The only thing it would show us is Yoda mastering a lesson that Qui-Gon gave him.
Right.
That's really the only thing. It would be Yoda and Obi-Wan mastering the Force Ghost, ability that they just kind of roped, a few people, other people in that wouldn't have known it, like Vader, for instance.
And now that whole thing is cool because it's mysterious, but it's like how far of a deep dive do you take into that? Like as far as how that works, you know what I mean? When Obi-Wan says, "If you strike me down, I should become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." It's cool because it's like Obi-Wan knows something that we don't.
Yeah, we don't need a midichlorian instance.
No, we don't need to get to the science as far as how you joined the Force, So I don't know. It's a tough call. That's why I've always been skeptical. Like, I don't know what a season 2 of this show even looks like.
Yeah, no, I'm on now. Beforehand, I was like, okay, let's give me a season 2.
Yeah.
The way this battle went down, I was like, I don't need a season 2. Right. At the end of that, I was like, I don't need it. And then I was kind of on the fence again when I seen Qui-Gon, because I had those feelings when I seen him leading him into Beggar's Canyon. I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I need more Qui-Gon.
So if it's not clear by now, we absolutely loved Obi-Wan Kenobi. The first 5 episodes, it was kind of hit or miss with some really great flourishes in there and some stuff that kind of dragged on. It's pretty, we talked about Reva and her character kind of sparingly in this last episode.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against the actor or anything like that. I just feel like what the choices that they made with that character and that plot was just kind of strange and hit kind of weird notes throughout the whole season. But they did mention, us exploring Reva in future, either her own show or maybe she comes back in a different show. I don't know.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, that's another thing they've mentioned is exploring that character further.
I don't know. I don't want a redemption arc. I don't think she's redeemable. I think maybe what's a better way of her? It would be her kind of coming to grips with what she did. Maybe becoming like a bounty hunter, kind of like an Asajj Ventress type character.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can see them doing anything, because not everyone is redeemable. Okay, they redeemed Vader. I didn't like how they redeemed Kylo. It's almost like that. Would they have redeemed Darth Maul? No, everyone that uses the dark side does not need redeemed. You need to have someone that is a bad guy that will forever be a bad guy.
Right.
So no, I don't want a redemption arc for her.
Which maybe it's not. Maybe it's a mystery as far as like her either shutting herself off from the Force or using some dark side, some light side. And if my theory is right and she is a clone, maybe it's her exploring. Oh my God, I'm a clone. But I don't know. That's my own theory. We'll see how that goes. Maybe it goes nowhere and we never see her again. That could be too.
I wouldn't be sad with that, honestly. Let's move on. Let's go to the other. Give me a show about the Chiss ascendancy. Give me that show. Give me, all of that in, unknown space that we haven't ventured into. There's so much going on out there with Thrawn and everybody. And we don't even need Thrawn in the show. They can do a whole Chiss ascendancy show without Thrawn needing to be present. Now, I don't know if people would go with that, but I would be fine with that. And there's so many great characters within those books that Timothy Zahn wrote. That are great. And a few of the books, Thrawn is barely even in. He's in them and he's doing things, but he is almost an afterthought in a lot of the chapters are going on, and I'm sucked into them. So
you are probably in the minority there as far as wanting a show all about the Chiss ascendancy. I know you're passionate about it, but I mean that's getting really niche, pal.
That's very deep. I mean, they don't have to bring them more into mainstream outside of just Thrawn himself. Bring some of the actual Chiss defense fleet into some of the mainstream stuff.
I'll just start by seeing a Chiss in live action. I mean, we haven't seen any of them.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see a live action Thrawn, dude. I God, his glowing red eyes. I really liked him in Rebels.
Yeah,
they dialed him back so the Rebels could actually, like Ezra and all them, could actually beat him. He's not defeatable in the books.
Right.
He's not defeatable even against Vader. He goes toe-to-toe with Vader, basically stands with Vader, looks him in his face, and pretty much tells him to screw off right in front of Palpatine because he knows Palpatine's got his back as well. So he's not even scared of Vader. Vader won't even dare try choking him out.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody of that level of like, you're not going to mess with me, and I'm going to do as I please.
Right.
It's, oh, man. The real Thrawn is, I mean, I like him in Rebels.
Yeah.
I mean, you need, like I said, you need to bring him down a little bit, but the actual real Thrawn that I know from the books is so much more badass. But I digress.
Yeah, you do. There's any number of things coming, and who knows? Like this is all talk as far as what we know that basically the Ahsoka show is going to be like a live action sequel to Rebels. So I mean that's pretty much coming. That's almost a done deal. But there are tons of rumors and tons of theories about them exploring other shows, different shows. Every time that they introduce new side characters, like is that side character going to get their own show? And it rarely happens, right? So. At the end of the day, we'll probably maybe explore some of these characters in comics, or maybe we'll see a cameo in a video game or something. But as far as this show, Obi-Wan Kenobi, season 1, and hopefully one and done, you and I absolutely loved it. I mean, is there anything else to say about it?
No, I think we've pretty much covered the entirety. The only thing I think we can end with is, how we started.
Hello there. Goodbye there.
Goodbye there. Or should I say just Yoda here? I don't know. This is the most clumsy ending we've had to our show. Well, guys,
how about may the force be with you? That's the way to go out with the Star Wars talk.
There we go. May the force be with you.
See ya.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
I know. You